Our penultimate story this evening, our sixth, is A Small Change by Mel Golding. Mel Golding always knew she wanted to be a writer, but didn't feel grown up enough to take it seriously until she got the whole rock star thing out of her system. This year she's written several short stories and a novel, as well as a song about a fox. She won't be singing tonight unless things go really bad. Please welcome to read A Small Change, Mel Golding.
Ben is walking from one end of the bus shelter to the other, the fingers on his left hand twirling, fanning open and shut, over and over by the side of his face. The sound he is making is all vowels. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Every fourth step, he taps the knuckles of his right hand twice against his forehead. People are staring, of course they are. It's just started raining, and the persistent April wind is whipping it up into our faces. The shelter is failing to live up to its name. There's no shelter here, and no proper seat. My hip is starting to hurt now, as it does these days when I stand too long. I try leaning on the narrow, tilted shelf they've put in, but it makes the ache worse somehow. The danger with providing a shelter, you see, is that those who need shelter will take shelter there. The homeless, the destitute, refugees, other undesirables, including autistic boys for whom the rain and wind feel intrusive and violent as an assault. Come sit with Granny, I say to Ben. He keeps going around the little circuit he's made, never breaching the edge of the shelter. They call it stimming, repetitive actions that soothe in times of anxiety. He can't help it. Most people are understanding, but you do get the starers and the frowners. I have a special smile for them, but actually I would like to give them a slap. Of course I never would. The weather had been fine when we set off from the house. Saturday morning we always go to town together, usually in my little red Ford. Ben had started stimming as we walked past the familiar parked car and on down the road. We're getting the bus today, Ben. You know, the bus. He loves buses. He's got a whole box of them at home. He lines them up against the skirting in order of size for hours. It's hard to stop him once he's started, so you have to think about the timing. And don't get the buses out when it's nearly time to eat, for instance. When it's all finished and perfectly aligned, he'll move on to something else, but he won't have forgotten them. I know now not to try to tidy those buses away until he's gone to bed. Once I swept them back up into the box during lunch. He wasn't thinking. The sound of him banging his head and screaming and not knowing what was wrong, well, we learn the hard way, me and his mum, which things set him off. Then we avoid those things, which is only sensible. Or so we thought. Stephanie, my daughter, told me that the psychologist said we have to start trying to challenge the limits for Ben. I don't like the idea, I just want him to be happy. But his world is shrinking. The number of foods that he'll eat is already limited, and he won't eat carrots anymore. The only veg he'll touch now is broccoli, and you have to cook it just so. The sounds he will not tolerate are numerous, and the list is growing. But it's heartbreaking watching him worry, and unbearable seeing what Steph has to go through every day when the second is up to the second he's wrestled, struggling into bed. He sleeps a lot less than a neurotypical child, a lot less than Steph did as a girl. Everything I learned as a parent is useless. Living with Ben, I mean, he's such a joy in his own way, but it's not comparable. She can't get him to sleep until midnight some days. That's why we have our little Saturday morning routine. Me and Ben, granny time, bit of space for Steph to have some peace, have a bath, and not worry about Ben. I know she has to help him try new things, but I also know she's clinging to sanity, and the last thing she needs are extra meltdowns. Which is why I thought I'd give it a go on my time. A small change to the routine. It might be an adventure. Look, Benny, it's the bus, I say. He doesn't stop the pacing, but I see him tip his head towards the sound of the squeaking brakes. He starts copying the high piercing sound, almost as loud. The other people at the bus stop, a man, 2 women and a young girl, all turn to look at Ben. Then the young girl puts her hands over her ears and screws up her face. I smile at the little girl and the mum. Sorry, sorry. The mum smiles back at me, uncertain. And then the bus stops, and Ben stops making the noise, and I think, okay, might be fine actually. He looks sideways at the bus. Right then, let's get on. I know not to try to hold his arm and lead him, but I make an ushering motion. He jumps on board and runs to the back seat, where he starts to rock backwards and forwards, hitting his knuckles lightly against his head and making his happy sound, oh, 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 from the back of his throat. To town, please. The driver is giving me a look I refuse to interpret as disapproval. I smile at him, and nothing to see here sort of a smile. Is he all right? He nods over his shoulder at Ben, whose voice has become so loud. Yes, thanks. I just need the tickets. My smile becomes a mind-your-own-business sort of a smile. I can't help it. The man behind me is impatient to get inside out of the weather. Come on, he says, irritably, and the driver takes my money. He gives me a look. Oh, oh, oh! The noise is growing higher in volume and pitch, and Ben has started jumping up out of his seat, bouncing on the unfamiliar sprung upholstery. Bouncing is one of his favourite things. I sit next to him and take his hand, and he pulls it away, his excitement almost unstoppable. I need to calm him, or I may tip over into anxiety and meltdown. I stroke him gently on the back and say, shh, 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 my Benny, shh. He loves that sound. He starts to shh too, and the bouncing slows, and he leans into me. Shh, he says, oh, 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 shh. He watches the rain running down the outside of the windows, the droplets slowing, then joining each other, and racing in rivulets to the bottom of the glass and out of sight, mesmerising us both. Then the bus pulls away, and something about the movement must be too much, because Ben is screaming, flailing his arms and running down the aisle towards the doors, falling over with the motion as the bus pulls out into traffic, banging his knee and his head on the metal of the handrail on the way down. He gets up again, scrambles away and throws himself at the closed door and screams, banging his fists on the glass. Someone shouting, "Oh, you, stop that!" But the bus won't stop. The driver is grimly concentrating on the road. "Can you stop?" I say. "Please, just stop the bus." I go to Ben, who is curled on the floor on the bottom step, wedged in the tiny space by the door, and I stroke his back and go, "Shh, shh, shh, my Benny, don't worry." But Ben is still screaming into his knees. I am kneeling on the floor of the bus next to him. The shh not working, but I'm not going to stop trying because it's all I've got. "Off," says the driver, as if we need telling. With a hiss, the doors fling themselves open, and Ben uncurls himself and jumps onto the pavement. I get up from the floor with difficulty, people watching but no one helping. The second my foot hits the asphalt, the bus pulls away screeching. We're not far from home, only one stop along, right outside the Turkish cafe. Bulent waves at me through the window, then he frowns and comes outside. "Mrs. Underwood, are you okay?" he says. I wipe my face on the serviette he gives me. Ben has gone inside, is sitting at his usual table in the window, lining up the cutlery. Later, we walk back to the house. Steph is in the kitchen, reading the paper in her dressing gown. "Did you have a nice morning, love?" I say. Her tired eyes are soft with gratitude. She looks less worried today. The kettle is leaking steam, as if it's just boiled. "Yes, thanks, Mum. How about you?" And I'm not good at lying, so I open the fridge to get the milk for tea so I don't have to look at her. "Not too bad, love, not too bad." I hear the sound of toy buses being tipped onto the carpet in the hallway.